before you speak.
Welcome, everyone, to the monthly meeting of the Knox County Planning Commission. I'm Tim Hill, Chair of the Planning Commission, and I'll be conducting today's meeting. Assisting me today is the Executive Director of the Knox County Planning, Amy Brooks, and the Planning Commission Attorney, Tasha Blakeney. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'll now ask Mr. DeArmond to call the roll.
Commissioner Huber?
Here.
Commissioner Browning? Commissioner Browning?
Here.
Commissioner Levinson?
Here.
Commissioner Boyer?
Here.
Commissioner Barger? Here. Commissioner Overton is excused. Commissioner Perez?
Here.
Commissioner Anderson? Here. Commissioner Higgins?
Here.
Commissioner Biggs?
Here.
Commissioner Daly? Here. Commissioner Gill?
Here.
Commissioner Midas? Here. Commissioner Adams? Here. Commissioner Hill?
Here.
That's 14 present, sir.
Thank you, Mr. DeArmond. Participating today are planning commissioners as well as planning staff and various representatives of city and county agencies. The planning commissioners are citizens from the city and county who have been appointed by either the city mayor or county mayor. We receive no salary and volunteer our time as a service to the community. Now, a word about how discussion will take place. After each item is called, I'll read the staff's recommendation. On certain items, I'll call on staff to comment. At this time, the applicant may address the commission or defer his or her opening remarks and allow any opposition to speak first. The applicant and those in support of the applicant will be given a total of 5 minutes to speak. I'll then ask for other comments from the floor. The opposition will also be given a total of 5 minutes to speak. If either side wishes to have an opportunity for rebuttal, you'll need to reserve your time from your allotted 5 minutes. Please note that a timer will be displayed on the screen above me showing your remaining time. Applicants and citizens who registered to participate and are attending the meeting in person will be asked to come to the podium and share their name and address for the record, where their item is being heard. Those who have registered to speak online do not need to sign in at the podium. If you'd like to speak on an agenda item and have not registered to do so in advance, please raise your hand when the item is read into the record. I'll then indicate when it's time for you to speak, and you can approach the podium at that time. You'll be asked to sign in at the podium as well as state your name and address for the record. If the Planning Commission decision on that item is appealed and we need to notify you, we cannot do so without your name and address. The Planning Commission may grant additional time for presentation of information. Speakers should limit the remarks to the facts of the case and avoid repeating comments that have been previously presented to the Planning Commission. Because of the number of items we have before us, groups in favor or opposed to an item have been asked to appoint a spokesperson to represent them. Because of the number of items before us, groups in favor or opposed to an item have been asked to appoint a spokesperson. I just read that. So if you didn't hear it first time, you heard it the second time. If you have any items you'd like to be a part of the record, please submit those documents to knoxplanning.org/share. Please identify the file number and meeting date in your submittal. I hope all of you have read the agenda package from today's website. In addition to the agenda, there's information on the website related to how today's meeting will be conducted, as well as correspondence on individual cases. Many of the items we vote on require further action by City Council or County Commission. For matters that are forwarded to the City Council for final action, the applicant or their representative should be present at the meeting at which the request will be considered. For matters forwarded to County Commission for final action, particularly rezoning requests, the applicant or their representative must, and I repeat must, be present at the meeting at which the request will be considered, or the case, at minimum, will be postponed. Applicants will be notified of the meeting date. If you have any questions regarding the meeting date or process, please contact planning staff. Today's meeting will be conducted in the order of the agenda. Please stand as you are able as Vice Chair Huber leads us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Our Father, bless this community. Help to ensure the decisions made this afternoon are fair, legal, and in the best interest of the total community. As always, keep us mindful of the needs of others, especially those who are in sorrow, need, sickness, or any other adversity. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda are the postponement and withdrawal lists. I'll read these lists separately. Under automatic postponements, we have item 7, Knoxville, Knox County Planning. Item 12, 355 South Gallagher View Road. Item 13, 2408 Tennessee Avenue. Item 14, 1524 Riverside Road. Item 46, Isabel Estates. Item 51, Mark C. Tucker. Under automatic withdrawals, we have item 25, re-subdivision of part of lots 1GR and 1H Powell Gardens. Item 27, Andrew Baker. Item 33, Adam Schming. Item 38, the farm at Beaver Ridge. Under 30-day postponements, item 6, R. Bentley Marlowe. Item 29, Benjamin C. Mullins. Item 41, Fessick Properties. Are there any other requests to postpone an item? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to postpone is read.
Second.
We have a motion to postpone, for postponements by Commissioner Boyer, seconded by Commissioner Levinson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Under 60-day postponements, we have item 17, Tim Minor. Item 22, Shailesh Patel, the 9 Group. Item 23, Hayo Design and Development. Item 39, The Ridge at Neal's Landing. Are there any requests to postpone an item? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to postpone is read.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Boyer, seconded by Commissioner Levinson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Under 90-day postponements, item 37, Lantern Park. Are there any other requests for postponement? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to postpone is read.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Boyer, seconded by Commissioner Levinson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Under withdrawals, we have item 28, Taylor D. Forrester, 0 Hall Drive. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to postpone is read.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Boyer, seconded by Commissioner Levinson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, to withdraw as read. Sorry, Chairman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Under tablings, we have item 15, Iura Bordai. Are there any requests to table an item? Oh, we got withdrawals from the table. Excuse me, skipped a category here. Withdrawals from the table. Item 1, Benjamin C. Mullins. Item 6, final plat of Eli Corum subdivision, lot 4A1 and 5A1. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to withdraw from the table as read.
Second.
We have a motion to withdraw from the table by Commissioner Boyer, seconded by Commissioner Levinson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to tablings. Item 15, Iura Bordai. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion as read.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Boyer, seconded by Commissioner Levinson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Items be removed from the table. Item 10, Parker Bartholomew. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to remove from the table.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Boyer, seconded by Commissioner Levinson, for the items be removed from the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the consent list, which is composed of items marked with a C. These items are considered non-controversial and are voted on all at once in order to save time. Items are listed in the order they appear on the agenda. Please listen carefully. Once an item is approved as part of the consent list, there will be no further discussion on it. I'll repeat that one more time because we always have one or two sit through the whole meeting and say, I wanted to speak on that. So once an item is approved as part of the consent list, there will be no further discussion on it. Item 2, approval of March 13, 2025 agenda. Item 3, approval of February 13, 2025 minutes. Item 5, R. Bentley Marlowe. Item 10, Julio Herrera. Item 11, Daniel Levy. Item 18, Niambi Schultz. Item 20, Jim Hatfield. Item 21, Jim Hatfield. Item 24, Knoxville, Knox County Planning. Item 26, the final plat of Winding Meadows subdivision. Item 31, Brian Andrew Byrd. Item 34, Elizabeth D. Raines. Item 35, Ball Homes LLC. Item 36, William Yates. Zayats. Item 44, Arcadia. Item 47, Piper Property on Holston River. Item 48, 2921 Bradley Lake Lane. Item 50, Leah Metcalf. Item 52, Urban Engineering. Item 53, Jesse and Beverly Young. Item 55, Kelsey Chambers. Are there any requests to remove an item from the consent list? We have someone signed up to speak for item 35, so I will remove it from the consent list. Are there any other requests to remove from the consent list? What's that? Okay. Is Ms. Carol Rose present? Okay, all right. Seeing no other requests, we have a light on Commissioner Boyer. Oh,
Just
no?
ready to make a motion.
Oh, okay, all right. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve items on the consent list except for removing item 35 to be
Second.
heard.
We have a motion from Commissioner Boyer, seconded by Commissioner Levinson, to approve the consent list and removing item 35 from the consent list. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. First item on the agenda is item number 8. The subject is the one-year plan update. Staff recommendation is to approve an amendment to the one-year plan to remove duplexes from the location criteria section in Chapter 2 of the development policy. Ms. Hillman, would you like to add anything?
No, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. We have 4 people signed up for this case. Drew Harper here.
Check.
Mr. Harper, if you'll state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Drew Harper. I'm at 4318 Washington Pike, number 101. I am Vice President of Yes Knoxville. We advocate for better housing choices, better transportation choices, and better community places. We strongly support the proposed amendment to the one-year plan that would ease regulatory burdens in some parts of the city that mandate that only single-family homes can be built. Allowing flexibility in land use gives more agency to property owners, more options for current and future Knoxville residents. It encourages infill home building and discourages sprawling development into rural areas. From a climate perspective, we know that the absolute worst form of housing in terms of carbon emissions per person are single-family standalone homes. Some of you know that I ran for Knox County Property Assessor, and I'm proud to say I got second place. From a fiscal responsibility perspective, we know that the absolute least economically efficient form of housing in terms of property tax revenue collected divided by taxpayer-funded services used is single-family standalone houses. This proposed amendment is a minor change that will allow more flexibility as we work together as a community to address our housing shortage. We understand that incremental change like this will not solve all of our problems, but it will make a small dent. Fiercely sticking to the status quo as an alternative will only exacerbate unaffordability, environmental damage, and budgetary unsustainability. I love Knoxville. I'm grateful for the opportunities that it has given me, and I would like to welcome as many more people here to have the same opportunities that I had, just because I moved here 15 years ago instead of 5 years from now. So for health, for climate, for affordability, for welcoming new neighbors, for balanced budgets, and for increased property rights, I encourage the commission to say yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Ms. Joyce Feld.
Thank you. My name is Joyce Feld. I live at 1540 Aguila Avenue. It's tall. Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919, and I'm here as president of Scenic Knoxville. So Scenic Knoxville believes it's imperative to incorporate design standards in the regulations for converted duplexes, and that this amendment should not be passed without them. Design standards protect existing property values, they preserve architectural integrity, and they promote the aesthetics and stability of a neighborhood. And they enhance the quality of life for all residents because they are what makes somebody proud to call their home their home. Scenic Knoxville was delighted when a robust set of design standards was included in the recently passed Missing Middle Housing Ordinance. Article 9.3.J states that, quote, "These design criteria help to ensure duplexes fit into surrounding neighborhoods," closed quote. In the end, a duplex is a duplex, and we should not have a different set of standards for new versus converted duplexes. Design standards do not exclude the construction of affordable housing. To the contrary, they assure that affordable housing will be accepted and embraced by the neighborhood where it is located. It's clear from reading the comments on the Planning Commission website that there's a great deal of opposition to this amendment within our community. We think requiring design standards so residents know the converted duplexes will blend into their neighborhood will go a long way toward dampening this opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Feld. Mr. Lee Hume.
Good afternoon. My name is Lee Hume. I live at 6902 Haverhill Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37909. I'm also serving as the current president of the West Hills Community Association. My objection is with the timing, and the reason I say that is because this is something that's just happened recently, and it's come to our attention. And I don't think there's a lot of awareness around the city about this proposed amendment to the one-year plan. And it does have an impact on neighborhoods around the city as a whole, and not just West Hills. My understanding is that your body requested the planning staff back at your January meeting to review this existing standard that's in the one-year plan, and within a matter of 1 month in February, they come back and they recommend that it be dropped from the one-year plan. Now, there may be good reasons for doing that, but one of the things that I find bothersome is that people in our neighborhood and other neighborhoods that I've spoken with, there's not a lot of awareness of this. And it's something that I think that the public is being denied an opportunity to become informed and then make informed decisions and share those opinions and with this body and with the governing bodies that will make the final decision, that being City Council. So with that in mind, I'm asking you all to please consider postponing any action on this until the next opportunity, which I understand this is an annual event. And perhaps that may seem a long time to some, but for us, it's really not that long. 1 year in something that's been around now for years and has been looked at by neighborhoods like ours has an opportunity for us to at least consider that as far as being a go-ahead to build a duplex or convert a home to a duplex is a big deal, because one of the things that we cherish is our community and our neighborhood and the sense of awareness. And people, their homes are the biggest investment that they have. And they should, if something is going to impact their neighborhood and their homes, their communities, they should have an opportunity to become aware of it and look at the pluses and minuses. Duplexes are not a bad thing. And we don't object to that per se. But the way it's done does matter. And for us to at least have something that we could look at when a situation comes up quickly, then that helps us to have some bearing on how things work. And for this to just be suddenly now, because of my understanding, there was one case where staff recommended that not to approve based on the location criteria, then the reaction is, okay, because of one case, then maybe we should drop the thing. Look at how many other cases, though, maybe it was a benefit that helped make, an informed decision by everybody for the best at the end, because there are duplexes all over the city. And I don't think it would hurt to postpone this and give it time for everybody to have time to think about it a little bit longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hume. Ms. Carleen Malone, you've got 6 seconds, but we're going to give you 2 more minutes.
I will be brief. Carleen Malone, 6051 Fountain Road, Knoxville, Tennessee. It's my understanding from Director Brooks that the staff is planning to consider design criteria for conversions. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. It has been suggested, and there was discussion during the agenda review meeting, that the special use process alone can impose design standards. It can, but I think that's an inadequate and perhaps burdensome approach. The better solution is to codify design criteria. The benefit of codified design criteria that apply to all conversions of duplexes to duplexes is that it puts all the cards on the table, face side up, so that anyone considering investing in a conversion knows the expectations before they enter into any contracts. And the neighbors also know the expectations. I ask that you support establishing design criteria for conversions of duplexes, and that your motion to recommend the one-year plan to City Council reflect your intention to quickly propose design criteria, perhaps in the April ordinance that's coming forward on other duplex issues. So thank you very much. We appreciate your help.
Thank you, Ms. Malone. I think that's all we have to speak. All right, Commission. Okay, Commissioner Higgins.
I'd like to make a motion to approve as read per staff's recommendation. And I'll also add to my motion, I think this is a very appropriate amendment to make, a change to make. And I think I understand I don't think I do understand the concerns with design guidelines for conversion, because in most situations, in terms of intensity and scale, duplexes are under the same rules as single-family houses. And like I said at agenda review, the odds of someone renovating or building a duplex that a neighbor may find aesthetically undesirable are I think lower than the odds of someone building a single-family house that a neighbor finds aesthetically undesirable. I think that to try to codify rules and regulations for something that broad is problematic and actually limits our, the ability of architects and designers and builders to actually get creative with those situations. I think design guidelines can make sense in specific contexts where you're looking at, pulling from national parks guidelines and specific contextual situations. But with duplexes, it's a very broad thing to try to say that we should have design guidelines for all of those because there's so many different contexts. So, and most of the neighborhoods that may feel affected are going to be the RN1 and RN2 neighborhoods where special use is required already. So I think there's process in play for in those areas where if someone is concerned about a duplex being built next to them that might have a negative impact on them, most likely that's going to go through special use where they would get a chance to see those plans and come and speak in opposition or in favor. So I think that the push for design guidelines for duplexes, I believe, comes from the same background of just a dislike of duplexes in general because they're not single-family houses. So I make a motion to approve this as it is and hope that as the discussion around the potential guidelines continue that we can look at this in a fair context against single-family houses and not try to over-dramatize the potential of duplexes.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor.
I'll second that, but for a little bit of backup on it too, because in reading the case file, I think with a lot of the comments that have been coming in from the public, I think there really is a misconception of the document, the one-year plan. I mean, the one-year plan is not where you would add design standards. I mean, in my opinion, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but there's really just some conflicting information in the design or the one-year plan versus the rest of the plans. So I just see this as more of streamlining it and cleaning it up. It's not going to all of a sudden allow more duplexes to be built specifically. It's going to streamline it and keep it a little cleaner from that aspect. So from that perspective, I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve per staff recommendation. Let's see, Commissioner Midas.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Jesse, it sounds like maybe there has been some consideration of design guidelines. You had a discussion with Ms. Malone. Can you kind of briefly touch about like what guidelines, or if y'all given any thought to what you would want to add as a potential guideline to the zoning ordinance?
Sure, it's still being drafted internally, but we would look at the existing principal use standards that do have design guidelines for duplexes that are new construction and look at applying those same principles to conversions.
So it would be if we were to approve the guidelines, it would make approval for the one-year plan based on the fact that we would consider design guidelines at our future meeting? Is that how that would work?
If that is how the Planning Commission wishes to approve the one-year plan, that's your prerogative. Currently, we do have an existing duplex-oriented ordinance amendment coming in April, where we would look at incorporating these design guidelines, but it's separate from the one-year plan adoption.
Okay. You know, I support this change in location criteria. I feel like it probably wouldn't be that impactful, given the fact especially that we allow for ADUs within RN1 and RN2 as a use by right. We're not really adding a lot of density, even if we allow for conversions along streets that aren't on arterial. I do see the concern. I'm not an architect with respect to Commissioner Higgins, but I do live in a neighborhood where there's been several add-ons and additions to houses. And sometimes they make changes to houses that don't look, with roof lines and certain pitches that don't look exactly right, just to make things work with conversion. So, I would support this and the guidelines to be added at future meetings.
Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. I share Commissioner Midas' thoughts on this, and frankly, I think the constituent Malone spoke very well about this being a concern with conversions. That it's those particular projects that I think the neighborhoods that are looking at this change and being concerned about it that are the most difficult, because I think most people developing that, Mr. Higgins, would be trying to do it the right way. Be concerned about the context of the neighborhood, making sure it fits, so that there was a lot of, I think Ms. Feld said, embracing the new folks moving in. But not everyone comes at it that way. And if there are not any kinds of guardrails for a conversion that speak directly to that type of circumstance, it will come through on a special use, that's true. But someone said, laying all the cards on the table, like, these are the guidelines. And I don't think they need to be austere, but simply speak to the things that are going to most impact what that looks like on the street, what that looks like in the neighborhood, so that the pathway is still there for someone to make this conversion, but they just have some guidance in doing that. So I too support this change, but I feel that it does need to be a motion that includes that the planning staff will be making guidelines for conversions that we would be able to look at in April.
I'd kind of like to hear what would those concerns be specifically? Draw me a drawing of it. So when we talk about these guidelines, when you compare it to a single-family home, what would be different? How would you look at that differently than a single-family home as far as design guidelines? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. And this came up at agenda review, so I can speak to it in the same way that in the case of a new build, we've got guidelines. So that's not an issue. So it's not an issue for a single-family home either. Those are both new builds. But in the instance of a conversion in an existing neighborhood, let's imagine West Hills, someone could take an existing home and move the door from the front to the side so that it doesn't match the rest of the neighborhood, because they want to have two separate entrances because it's a duplex now.
And I'm sorry for my absence yesterday, so I may be asking the same questions, but could a single-family home do the same thing?
A single-family home is under different guidelines. And I know that someone could build a home and have a very different type of layout, and that would be fine. But it would still be consistent with the neighborhood in terms of what was there historically and what we would be asking for in the conversion guidelines is for that property to think about its context, so that the conversion didn't change how it sat in the neighborhood. It wasn't all of a sudden something very different from the street or from the neighbor's perspective. And so that's where I'm trying to explain. It's not burdensome types of guidelines, but just some basic guardrails so that someone who is not really concerned about the investment there in the neighborhood still has to make sure that it's going to fit and be comfortable for everyone that's already there.
I'm not asking these questions to land on one side of or maybe I am to land on, I haven't landed on one side or the other, but I'm trying to think this out of a view of fairness from looking at a single family and a duplex. So if I don't want my kids interrupting me coming in late at night and I put a side door in that, kind of what you're concerned with a duplex, wouldn't we be looking at that differently from a single family versus a duplex?
I'm not concerned about someone putting a side door on, because in that, the way you phrased it, there's still a front door on the house. I'm concerned about someone taking an existing structure that has fit into the neighborhood for a long time and deciding that they could essentially make a duplex, which I'm in favor of, but all of a sudden it doesn't fit any longer. They've taken the front door off. They now have side entrances. There's no front door facing the street. It all of a sudden looks and feels very different. So I'm just
I guess
trying
my
to.
question is, couldn't a single-family residence do the same thing, though? So
There are many different design styles that someone could choose for a single-family home. I'm not contesting that. What I am trying to do is to provide some guardrails and to provide some comfort for people who live in neighborhoods currently where conversions would be highly likely and a good thing, but that they have some guidance there. So
No, I completely understand what you're saying, and I think those are points well made. But we're ignoring the fact that a single-family residence could do the same thing, but we don't have guardrails for them. Is that, unless I'm misunderstanding the conversation here, is that correct?
I'm going to answer in that my concern is about the conversions of the duplex. And that's what we're discussing right now. And that's what I would like for there to be, not an amendment to the one-year plan, but to the motion that there be staff time dedicated to providing guidelines for conversions that we could, as the Planning Commission, review in April.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Barger.
I see what you're saying, and I see what you're saying, but I'm actually going through this right now with my own house because I bought a house that was built in 1993 up on a hill, and you come in the side, and not one person has ever come in my front door. So we are closing off the front door. We're adding a side door, and we're taking the current entryway and making it into a bedroom. So I think that's where you're kind of going with that, is I'm not making mine a duplex, but I am legitimately moving the front door to the side of my house in a neighborhood that's been there for 30 plus years. So I kind of think I share Commissioner Hill's thoughts on if it needs to be, I don't see the need for design standards at this point to be able to approve this plan, because I can make my house look just as bad as a single family home as I can a duplex. So I just wanted to share my thoughts.
Ms. Hillman, will you give us just a little context or background on how this came about? I guess what the motivation was for this?
Sure. So yeah, there currently are no principal use standards, design guidelines for single-family dwellings that are permitted by right. And one of the comments we received in response to the one-year plan update with the removal of the duplex location criteria is this concern about duplex conversions. And so we are considering, incorporating that into the existing principal use standards for duplexes, which currently say that they only apply to new construction.
No, I was asking about what was the motivation to, I guess, drop the location criteria?
Oh, we've had several special use cases over the years where staff would have recommended approval if not for conflicts with the one-year plan location criteria. We do feel that the location criteria conflict with the purpose of the one-year plan to align our comprehensive plans with zoning, because those location criteria don't exist in the comprehensive plans. And those were the reasons why.
So we've had conflicts within our plans. This didn't happen just a month or two ago. This is one of several cases.
Yes.
Many?
I wouldn't say many, but there's been precedent where one-year plan was a deciding factor in special use.
Can I just provide a little bit of
Sure.
clarification? So, we try to vet applications before they get into the process. So as much as possible, we would try to catch, if someone was coming in for a duplex under the special use process, if it didn't meet the location criteria, and we knew that up front, we would have that conversation with that potential applicant to discourage them from even getting into the process so they don't spend the money unnecessarily.
Commissioner Brooks? No, excuse, Commissioner Midas. I thought I had, don't you have your light on? No? Never
I
mind.
got a quick comment on that.
Commissioner Huber?
Yes, hey. There was one recently, I think, more recently in the last several months, it was a good example, I thought, that staff was put in a position that they needed to, say recommend denial to us, but the commission looked at it and said, no, that is a very appropriate location and voted it up. I think that's part of where, along with some other examples over the last several years. So I think that was in December or January, sometime around there. But specifically with that case, what I remember is there was a request for a duplex, and it was directly across the street from multifamily, yet the existing multifamily, yet that street was not a collector street, which is what the one-year plan required it to be. So, the commission looked at it and decided that's a very logical place for a duplex. And so I think it's more of a conflict in language between two plans, and we're just trying to get that straightened out, I think, is a little bit of the history behind that.
Okay. Commissioner Gill?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say a few thoughts. I think we are all kind of mixing up two things a little bit, in my opinion. I think the one-year plan is about cleaning up some code that that is actively conflicting with our zoning code and what we have all worked together for in the comprehensive plan. I don't believe that duplexes themselves are at stake at this moment. It's about making sure that our code supports that. RN1 and RN2 already require special use in order to get one through. And as Commissioner Hubert said, we've run into situations where it's entirely appropriate and it's supported by members of the community, and yet we are having to go against our own one-year plan as commissioners in order to support something that has support already. I find that to be something that we all recommended to kind of adjust. I think there's been unanimous consent in a lot of cases on this. We voted, I think, unanimously to recommend to staff to address this issue because we see it as a potential conflict when we're dealing with cases. So I think that's really important. And I think the other issue is design standards, and the other issue is how do we make sure that duplexes in development in keeping with maintaining character of neighborhoods and the like. And I don't think that issue precludes being able to make sure that our code is clean and allows that to go on. I am fully supportive of taking a look at some design guidelines in the future, much as we did with middle housing. We allowed increased density, but we had some increased rules. We have design standards in CG zones. We have design standards in CN zones. We have design standards whenever we have development interfacing with existing residential neighborhoods. That's not an unreasonable request to make, but I don't think that has anything to do with what we're discussing today. And so for that reason, I think we should be supporting making sure that our code actually matches what is necessary to make sure that we're making sound and smart decisions that allow us the flexibility necessary to address what the community is bringing to us. I definitely saw online a lot of the comments that are very much in opposition to the concept, and I think that a lot of that is in opposition to duplexes themselves, not necessarily this plan that's been put into place. This doesn't allow any more duplexes than are already being put in. Those cases are coming before us already and will continue to come before us. I think staff has mentioned to us already that we'll be addressing this through design standards, and I think that is now in record is something that everyone on this commission has already, perhaps not unanimously, or at least would be willing to entertain a conversation about how design standards could be applied. But in so much that what we need to do is look at the one-year plan today, I don't see any reason why we can't approve that today and move on, notwithstanding the broader conversation about duplexes, which is not really what's at stake today.
Thank you, Commissioner Gill. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, just to
Next.
clarify, I'm sorry. Commissioner Hill, we going to discuss design standards, so?
I think that's on the table, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Number 9.
Agenda item 9, applicant is David Varner, location southwest corner of Holston Drive and Meadowview Road, .68 acres. Present zoning is RN2, zoning requested RN4. Existing land use, public, quasi-public land, vacant church. Staff recommendation is to approve the RN4 district because it is consistent with surrounding development and supported by residential amenities. Is the applicant present? All right, do we have opposition? Let's see, we have someone in opposition, Mr. Derek Tate. Is he here? Okay. Would you like to speak first or defer your comments to
Yeah, I'll
the
go ahead and
opposition?
speak.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jake Varner, 1805 Kinglet Drive. So good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Jake Varner, and I am the CEO of Southeast Capital. We're a local development firm that specializes in affordable housing. Today, I want to present our plan for the property following the proposed rezoning, highlight some of the benefits of studio and one-bedroom units, and then hopefully alleviate some of the concerns we received from our meeting with the neighborhood. So our plan for the property is to build roughly 14 units under the missing middle plan. We hope to build all studio or one-bedroom units. We'll keep them affordable, limiting them to 80% AMI or less. Under the missing middle plan, we'll follow all the requirements, including the architectural standards, to ensure the buildings look like house-scale structures. That includes items like building height, roof design, porches and stoops, and exterior materials. We feel that the Burlington neighborhood is a fantastic place to live, with great access to public parks and a library, shopping right across the street, and public transportation access next door in front of Burlington Commons. We've received great feedback from our residents at Burlington Commons and want to make that available for more members of our community. I also wanted to highlight some benefits of studio and one-bedroom units. We feel that studio and one-bedroom units are a win for Knoxville and this neighborhood. These units align with the city's missing middle housing plan, and the development hopes to tackle our 6,000 to 8,000 unit shortage by prioritizing compact, affordable units. These units appeal to many essential workers like teachers, nurses, retail workers, and service staff who may have more modest wages but are essential to our community. These units also support aging in place. They allow older adults in retirement age to downsize and still stay in their communities. And then finally, I wanted to address some concerns mentioned in our meetings with the neighborhood. The first was about traffic. We feel these units won't flood streets. We had a study conducted prior to us completing Central Terrace in the Inskip neighborhood, which is a 112-unit development made up of 2- and 3-bedroom units. And that traffic study found that there was no significant impact to the neighborhood. We feel confident the diminished scale of this development will also have minimal impact. Neighbors also mentioned the development being too different from the neighborhood. From a design standpoint, we feel these will look like Knoxville homes with pitched roofs, porches, and brick accents. They'll blend in under the missing middle plan's strict design rules. And then finally, it was brought up, neighbors mentioned concerns about a decline in property values. I'd point to studies conducted by the Urban Institute, UC Irvine, and the Furman Center at NYU, which all showed that property values boost nearby, not a drop, following completion of affordable housing. We feel this development isn't just housing, but it's also a stable, sustainable asset for our community, and we hope you'll approve this rezoning request. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Tate.
My name is Derek Tate. I reside at 211 Meadowview Road, about 5 houses from this development. I'm here today. I understand the shortage in housing. I understand the need, but I also understand there's a big difference between studio apartments and neighborhoods. See, we are a neighborhood. We're a family. We're there to grow families long term. We plan on presiding there. You know, studio apartments are apartments that's short time. People coming and people going. They're not really, well, you're talking about 400 square feet, maybe 450. You're not gonna raise a family. You're not gonna be part of the neighborhood. You know, I don't think anyone in this room would want studio apartments in their neighborhood. I mean, it just don't fit. It's not a good fit for us. We discussed it. We just found this out on Monday. You know, you see those signs on the road about the zoning changes, you know, and you don't really understand what they are. I looked at it, and the number you call, you don't get an answer. But I know a resident, R1, and getting changed to R4 mean multiple. I'm thinking maybe a duplex or something like that. We had Mr. Varner to come to our neighborhood watch meeting on Monday, and he explained what he was doing. When he mentioned 14 units, you know, I'm looking at the property, and he's gonna make it look like a house. You know, I don't see how you can make 14 units, 14 apartments look like a house. It just don't fit. You know, it just doesn't belong in a neighborhood. And if you start one, then you're gonna start many others. So, you know, I'm opposed to this project, you know, because of, well, I looked on, because we all like to Google things. I went to Google and I looked up this on Google, and it said, I Googled studio apartments and neighborhoods. And it came up and it said, adding studio apartments to a neighborhood can have mixed impact on property value, potentially decreasing the value of nearby single-family homes. I'm looking at this, and you know, people say, well, Google ain't there, but we all live by Google. You know, we Google everything we do just about. And I talked to our residential partners, Town Hall East, Chris Osborne, Burlington Associate, Kim Fowler, Cold Spring, Terrell Patrick. We also partner with Chihawee, Park Ridge, and they're all in agreement with me. You know, we're gonna stand by this. We didn't really have enough time to get our rebuttals together, you know, but after I found out about it, I started doing some research, and I talked to Ms. Hillman, and she, you know, kind of helped me a little bit in how to go about doing some things. But I'm here to ask that, you know, if not pass it, but postpone it until we can really present to the planning committee a real proposal about where we stand on this. And it's real. You know, I understand, like I said, I know we got a housing shortage. I know the city is behind on property. It's a lot of property in the area that need studio apartments. A lot of property, not residential property. But I just don't see, you know, like I said, you know, people coming and going, short time, stay, you know, they're not there to grow a family. They're not there to be a neighbor. You know, they just there for a short span, just to get to where they need to get on account of income and where to stay. It's just gonna be a single person or whatever, you know. But my suggestion is that y'all postpone this proceeding until we can.
Appreciate your comments, Mr. Tate.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Commission. Commissioner Barger.
I'd like to make a motion to approve per planning staff's recommendation.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Barger, seconded by Commissioner Perez to approve per staff recommendation. We have Vice Chair Huber.
I guess I just wanted to make a comment. You know, I'm in support of this too. I mean, just from a planning perspective, I mean, Mr. Tate, I understand exactly what you're coming from there, or where you're coming from. But from a planning perspective, I mean, we've got RN5, which is a more intense zone next door, you know, so, and you've got 48 apartments there. I understand what you're saying about the transitionary, of the smaller units, but I respectfully disagree with that. I mean, I think we're just trying to house people. They'll stay there just as long as the people stay in the apartments at the KCDC property next door. So I just wanted to point that out. It's directly across the street from a mixed-use special district. It's a lot of commercial in that area. I think the plan is to increase density in these areas, so I just wanted to lay that out there as support.
Thank you. Commissioner Midas.
Yeah, I'd like to also address Mr. Tate's comments. I understand where you're coming from. I do, in understanding the plan, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of review, and if he's going to go through the middle housing process, that they're going to have a lot of design standards on this piece of property. It's a great location. And I do think that the generations to come are going to see apartment living as a very stable option for them for years to come. I know I have 2 apartment complexes in my neighborhood, and I see walking to the bus stop the same people for years now. And they're young individuals, single, some families, and they've decided to stay because this is what they can make work. So I really think this is a good plan for that piece of property, and I'm just hopeful that you're going to see it too as it comes to fruition.
All right, seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. On to item 16, applicant Shannon Harper, location south side of Parkside Drive, west of Wakefield Road, 6.59 acres. Current zoning CH2, existing land use commercial, proposed use extension of a parking lot for auto dealership. Staff recommendation is to approve the request for expansion of a parking lot in the CH2 zoning district for up to 287 additional spaces, subject to the 3 noted conditions. And let's see here, we have 1 person signed up in opposition. Councilor Forrester, would you like to speak first or defer?
I'll go ahead and go first.
Okay.
Taylor Forrester, 1111 North Shore Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919. Here on behalf of the applicant, this is a special use request for the expansion of an existing surface parking lot on the property. That special use request was approved for the existing parking lot in 2023. Again, this is just an expansion of that. Staff has recommended approval of this, subject to 3 conditions, which my client is agreeable to. This special use request it's consistent and compatible with the uses in the area. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this section of Parkside Drive. It's very auto-oriented. There are numerous automobile dealerships in this vicinity, in this location of Parkside Drive. The site plan for the special use satisfies the ordinance requirements related to landscaping and the buffers when you're adjacent to residential zone property. Those are some enhanced screening buffers against the residential share boundary. The site plan incorporates those. This request also satisfies the requirements under the special use ordinance, the criteria that you have to meet for the approval of special use request. I noticed there was one comment on the special use request, and it dealt with concerns related to flooding of Turkey Creek. So the property next door, my client owns as well, and you can see on the screen there's a detention pond that was developed with that development. So the detention pond that was developed there serves both properties, serves the car wash property and it serves this existing surface parking lot and will serve the expanded parking lot. It was designed and constructed in a manner to not only handle the stormwater on the car wash lot, but to also handle the existing parking lot and the expansion, proposed expansion of the parking lot and other development on that site. So it was built at the time at a higher criteria, higher level to handle the future development of this site. With that, we'd ask that you approve staff recommendations subject to the 3 conditions. Thank you.
We have 1 person signed up in opposition. Is that person here? Keen Wong. Okay, all right. Commission?
I'd like to make a motion, oh, sorry, which one? You were looking at both
Commissioner
of us.
Barger. Sorry.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for expansion of the parking lot in the CH2 district, provided that they meet the 3 listed criteria.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Barger, seconded by, we had a tie, but I'll go with Commissioner Boyer this time. And we have other lights still on, so let's go with Commissioner Adams.
Mr. Forster, I understand that the applicant has met the requirements or plans to meet the requirements, especially with the landscaping that's outlined there. My question is about the surface itself, and if there's anything planned to do for heat beyond that landscaping for the surface of the lot.
I'm not aware of anything at this time. Yeah, it's just a vacant parking lot right now, so no immediate plans at this time other than, meeting the criteria, the landscaping requirements.
Yeah, I meant when it is developed into the final lot. No special surface or reflective coatings or anything to help with heat.
Not to my knowledge. I think just satisfying the requirements that are under the zoning ordinance.
Okay, thanks.
Seeing no other lights, we do have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is agenda item 19, applicant Peer Group LLC, location south side of Sevierville Pike, east of East Red Bud Road, 15.67 acres. Current zoning is agricultural and hillside protection. Existing land use, agriculture, forestry, and vacant land. Proposed use, campground. Revision of previously approved special use 4E23 special use. Staff recommendation is to approve the special use for a campground with a maximum of 6 campsites, 15 tiny mobile home cabins, 6 cabins, 1 bathhouse, and 1 sauna in the locations depicted on the site plan, subject to the 6 noted conditions. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
And do we have opposition? Any opposition? We do have opposition. Would the applicant like to proceed with comments or defer?
Defer.
Okay. All right. We have, is it River, I'm going to give a shot. Is it Rockelson? Rochelson.
All right. My name is River Rochelson. I live at 804 East Redbud Road, 37920. I will keep my statement short and sweet in an effort to get my point across. I'd like to express my discontent towards this project. I have lived on the property adjacent to that property since I was little with my mother. I've seen it go through a number of changes over the years, though none have been as harmful as the first campground that a different group abandoned on that property several months ago. I watched a group of folks with no knowledge of Knoxville culture or respect for their neighbors clear-cut the land, drive out the previously abundant wildlife, and do nothing with the property but throw loud, raucous parties. I'm sure that you can imagine my relief as we finally heard silence from that property, then my horror as we found out that another group wishes to turn it into a louder, more disruptive development. As your neighbor, a lifelong Knoxvillian, an active community member, and someone who genuinely cares about preserving the urban wilderness, I urge you not to let this go forward. Between the increased lights, the noise from campers and development, and the increased traffic from RVs and mountain bikes on a road that is not wide enough to support them, I am unable to come up with any substantial way that this project will benefit its neighbors whatsoever. I urge you to ask yourself how you would feel if somebody proposed putting a campground in your backyard. I sincerely hope that you choose to do the right thing by not letting this project move forward and prioritize the needs of your fellow Knoxvillians by not allowing it. You cannot claim to protect the urban wilderness by removing the things that make it wild. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Jill Ellis?
I'm the mom. My name is Jill Ellis, and I live at 804 East Redbud, 37920. I'm a little bit nervous because there's a lot of y'all, and this means a whole lot to me. So I will ask for a little bit of grace and a little bit extra time if I need it, please. I am here to ask you to reconsider the impact that this project will have on the quality of life of people who already live in South Knoxville. I was raised there, I was educated there. I bought a house there in 2013, been paying taxes on city and county ever since. I bought my house because of the natural beauty. I had an exhaustive search for a house, and when I found this one, I knew it was it. You drive into the driveway, and there was nothing but trees, and there was wildlife. I had like whole herds of deer and flocks of turkeys. There were owls constantly singing to each other in the trees, hawks, even an eagle or two. And this is why I loved my house. This is why I love my property. Very modest house, but the property is what made it. So I'd like you to consider what this development would do to people like me who already live there and already enjoy what we have. And I do want to give you a little bit of history. All the wildlife stuff and the peacefulness changed a few years ago when this body allowed the zoning to be changed to agricultural. The original owners of the drop-in came to me and they said that they were going to have a primitive campground, and that meant no electric lights, a few campsites, low-key, nothing to worry about. I worried anyway, but then the first thing they did was cut down acres of trees, and the wildlife stopped appearing. It was a whole summer and more of nothing but trees falling and chainsaws and construction noise and heavy equipment. And one thing I really just don't understand is the zoning of agricultural. Every time I read a definition of what that means to preserve the land for economic uses that support farmland and rural living, I look at that and I think, how does this campsite, how does this campground work into that? How does that support an agricultural zoning? I'm not going to get your jargon right, but an agricultural zoning, whatever that you did. Then after they cut all the trees, the campground just didn't really materialize. It was just kind of quiet down there. And while I enjoyed that and the wildlife started coming back, there were suspicions in my mind about what had happened to the property. And that's when I did a little research and found out that my new neighbor is the Peer Group, a developer who has campgrounds and recreational facilities in Pigeon Forge and Sevierville. And I was not happy about that. I cannot see myself coexisting peacefully with a Pigeon Forge type campground. And I would challenge you to ask yourself, if you could, would you buy a house next to a campground? Would you be fighting this if it was in your backyard? I share a long property line with this property.
Ms. Ellis, if you could wrap up, please. I appreciate it.
I just have to wonder how you came to the conclusions that this would have no impact on the lights in the area or the noise in the area. 6 campsites, including RVs, according to Mr. Gibran. I would like you to reconsider approving this today, maybe talk to some neighbors and think about how it impacts people who are already there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gibran, would you like to speak?
Yes, Nadeem Gibran, 6480 Kingston Pike, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919. Nice to meet you in person, Ms. Ellis. Yes, this campground project started in 2021, and it did not materialize. In 2024, early 2024, I was approached to look at it. And one, I'm a local. This is not some KOA operator coming into town to put max density. In fact, this, 12 acres of this property, there's 2 miles of trails that are connected to the urban wilderness. And that is because the previous owner of this property has an easement with the city of Knoxville. The campground connector trail, all the other trails on property is conforming for a continual path to Baker Creek, over to Iams. And again, the city of Knoxville, the people of South Knoxville, I know not everyone, they have a vision for what it is. And if you look at the public and private concerted efforts, you can tell that this is just another unique opportunity for overnight accommodation, no different than a boutique, small scale, very local lodging option in South Knoxville. There are currently not many. I've been to other communities that have similar type options, and it does create just a uniqueness. I know a lot of trees were cut down. I don't know how many. That has already been done. Again, I came into this January of 2024. There will be low-level lighting. This will not be high poles. We will have quiet times, quiet hours, similar to other establishments around the area that are butting up to residential. So I ask you to continue letting us. We are making an investment that we think is a benefit and an asset to what is already being envisioned, invested in publicly and privately. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jabon. Commissioner Barger. Commission. Commissioner Midas.
I have a question for Mr. Jabron. Are you planning on clear cutting any more on the property?
That will determine, to answer your question, it's not a yes or no answer. I think there are several areas that may need some more, but there will be plenty buffer within the requirements, as this body knows. So to answer your question, it will be minimal.
Okay. Yeah. The other question I have, and I don't know if you can answer this, is, given the wildfire situations that have happened in this area, how do you control? I know you said in the application that you're not going to have anyone monitoring 24 hours a day. How do you monitor like campfires, especially during really tender times like we're having right now?
Sure, it's a fair question. I would say it's the general manager and really the co-founder is the next door neighbor to this property. He's a childhood friend of mine. His name's Carter Miller. He is right next door to this property, and as it stands, he's going to be the general manager and still involved. I don't think it's any different than any other home that's around there that may fall asleep and not put their fire out. I think we can have protocols in place. So that's how I would answer that.
Yeah, I understand. Most people would be concerned about their house. I do worry sometimes that people who come in and who start a campfire may not be as concerned or even know how dry or how windy a situation could quickly develop.
Sure.
If they're not from that area.
Sure.
It does give me some comfort knowing that there is going to be someone monitoring the property that actually lives adjacent. Is that right?
Yeah, next door.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. I really like this concept. I think we need that. I love that area. I understand the neighbors and their concern. This is a really wooded area, very special, very unique. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a motion to approve this special use for a campground with a maximum of 6 campsites, 15 tiny mobile home cabins, 6 cabins, 1 bathhouse, and 1 sauna in the locations depicted on the site plan, subject to 6 conditions.
I'm going to second.
All right. I'm not showing any favoritism, but we've got a motion by Commissioner Midas, seconded by Commissioner Gill. Right, did you make that second? Okay, one of many. Okay, to approve per staff recommendation. And I think we still have more lights on, maybe. Commissioner Gill, would you like to speak?
Yes, I just want to just want to voice my support for this project in so much that, you know, on a personal level, I have done a lot of the travel in my life has been traveling to different areas of our country to see the natural beauty of it. And one of the places that I've always liked to seek out are campgrounds that are just like this. Looking through these renders, these are some very, very tasteful cabins. They are in an area that is very unique, and I've had many wonderful experiences where I have been able to view national parks and travel across the country. And my wife and I and my children like to seek out places just like this to stay. Rather than sitting in a hotel in the downtown area, this is a great way to experience Knoxville and what you know, the South Knoxville area has to offer. You know, the urban wilderness is really a gem of what makes Knoxville very special, and allowing you know, people to be able to experience that, particularly with the trail locations and the way it's connected, is a very unique opportunity. I think there's been a lot of care that's been put into this plan to ensure that those spaces are in harmony with the area. And while I do share concerns that we might make sure that is not impacting the rest of the neighborhood there, I feel like that this is a great use of this space rather than it being turned into potentially housing or something more disruptive. So I am in support of this, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops.
Commissioner Adams.
Pretty much ditto to everything Commissioner Gill just said, with one addition, which is that this concept, I like it very much, and it will be successful when people are there respecting the place. You know, you don't have people who want to come and ride the trails and experience nature who don't appreciate that and want to enjoy it, you know, in a respectful way. So that's what I think builds in that that comfort for me, that it's going to attract people that like that kind of environment and want to respect that and take care of it.
Thank you. Vice Chair Huber.
Just a quick follow-up to, I think it's a great concept. I mean, I agree. I mean, it ties perfectly in with the biking and the hiking and that goes on in that area. And one thing, Ms. Ellis, because I know change is hard, it's always difficult, but as I'm looking at the map, you know, there's a lot of it zoned RN1, which is geared directly towards residential. I imagine that property was zoned RN1 before it got zoned to ag. So there's 20 acres next to you that eventually could be a neighborhood in RN1. I think something as hard as it is, you know, for you, this is a lesser of a situation that could have happened there. So I'm fully in support of it.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve per staff recommendation. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 30, applicant Sierra Kirby, location east of Sailor Ford Road, north of Fish Trap Lane, 0.67 acres. Present zoning is industrial, zoning requested, low-density residential, RA. Existing land use, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Staff recommendation, approve low-density residential zone because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding development. Is the applicant present? All right. And do we have opposition? Any opposition?
There is somebody who had signed up, Kimberly Cardwell.
Okay. Is Ms. Cardwell here? Ms. Cardwell, Kimberly Cardwell? No? All right. Would the applicant like to speak? Nope. All right. Commission?
Motion to approve per staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Higgins, seconded by Vice Chair Huber. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
32.
Item 32, applicant Daniel Humphreys, north side of Granville Connor Road, northeast of Fursner Road, 0.91 acres. Present zoning is agricultural, zoning requested, low-density residential, existing land use, single-family residential. Staff recommendation is to approve low-density residential zone because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and would bring zoning into compliance. Is the applicant present? All right, do we have any opposition? Okay, we have opposition. Mr. William Edmonds, would you like to speak? Yes, sir. All right. Would you like to defer your comments? Okay.
My name is William Thomas Edmonds. I live at 1133 Grand Volcano Road in Powell. It's the lot just to the east of that. I was born in 1967 and went to school at Powell Elementary, Powell Middle School, and Powell High School, and graduated there in 1985. Joined the Army and served for 31 years, retiring in 2016 to come back home to take care of my dad, who passed in 2022 in that home. But what I'd like to be able to do is bring a couple of points regarding the proposal of rezoning. Specifically, along Grand Volcano Road, the homes that are built there, they share a common elevation. This is actually on the base of a slope, of a hill, and back in the 1900s, it was called Galt's Knob. But again, all those homes, they set at about the same elevation. From my foundation of the house to the northwest corner of the 1137 is approximately 200 feet, and in that 200 feet, there's a 40-foot rise, and that gives a 20% slope. If I went straight up the property line, it goes up to about 26%. My property actually has 2 retaining walls and a French drain along the northern foundation of my home to mitigate the water. Regarding the way the houses on both Grand Volcano and Fersner Road were built, these homes were built by design and share a common axis. You can see again that they were built along a line, both down Fersner and across Grand Volcano generally. Any new structure or earth move will affect the water flow. Water shedding off of rooftops and gutters is similar to a water hose, and it's got to be managed to prevent erosion. Both my land and the 1137 are within the hillside protection area template of Knox County's future land use plan. In the existing zoning, the green area, the agricultural homes, they typically represent the traditional Powell community. Ownership will often, it's generational, as is the case with my home. When my parents passed, the house is now, it went on to me, and it'll continue to stay within the family. Once these green areas are rezoned, they won't come back. So I want to thank the Metropolitan Planning Commission for allowing me the opportunity to address these concerns. I don't wish to impede economic development or limit the rights of property owners to maximize the potential of their investments. I do not, however, have the money to address foundation repair issues that may arise from additional structures being built on that property above my property due to negligence. And then I have a list of concerned citizens that you all are welcome to have that have voiced their concern. But thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edmonds. All right. Would the applicant like to speak?
Daniel Humphreys, 234 Ladridge Road, Kingston, Tennessee, 37763. My client is just wanting to add an additional house there to split the property up. It would be about He's going to build it right in that area there where the cursor's at right now. There wouldn't be really any change in the elevation as much, except for grading to put the new foundation and stuff in. That's what my client is looking to do, is just add another house there so he can sell it to have somebody else can have a house in the neighborhood.
Thank you for your comments. All right, Commission. Vice Chair Huber.
Yeah, I guess this might be a question for engineering, but NRA, I don't think it's, if they're building one more house, they subdivide and build one more house, I don't think it's going to trigger any stormwater requirements, is it not?
It would not.
Okay. So the applicant, Mr. Humphreys, so is it Mr. Garrett that owns the property and he's wanting to subdivide it? So Mr. Edmonds, I would suggest that as this process moves forward, if you do see, number one, Mr. Edmonds, Mr. Garrett needs to ensure that he's not running water over on the neighbor when you're under construction. It looks to me like most of it drains down towards the road, but you got to make sure that it's not impeding and coming onto your property, that they're directing it that way. And if you do, I would suggest just reaching out to Knox County Engineering and making them aware of it. Although it doesn't trigger the actual, in a pond or anything like that, it is their responsibility to make sure they don't run their water on the neighbor that's not already going there. So, but with that, just looking at it, I think, from a planning perspective, I think it's appropriate. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve RA, low density residential zone, because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan. It would bring the zoning into compliance.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Huber, seconded by Commissioner Levinson, to approve per staff recommendation. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay.
This was taken off consent.
All right. We will now move to item 35, which was previously on consent. The applicant is Ball Homes LLC, location north side of Hickory Creek Road, east of West Gallagher Ferry Way, 16.566 acres. Present zoning, agricultural. Zoning requested, plan residential, existing land use, agricultural, forestry, vacant land, rural residential. Density proposed up to 3.5 dwelling units per acre. Staff recommendation, approved plan residential zone with up to 3.5 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding developments. Is the applicant present? And do we have opposition? I think we have someone signed up to speak. Counselor, would you like to speak or defer?
I'd like to defer.
All right.
My name is Carol Rose. I live at 1432 Dempsey Road, Knoxville, 37932. My attendance here today will in no way probably impede Ball Homes. My request is more of a delay of some kind, so that way our infrastructure such as roads, water systems, sewage systems can accommodate this, all of these growing developments that we have in the area. I speak from this right now from having not spoken up at some of the other developments that have come into our neighborhood along Campbell Station. And actually, as of right now, they are working on sewage issues that are causing issues within, that are being caused by ones further up the road and having to be resolved on our side in our neighborhood. So no issue against the overall effect that they are going for here, just wanting the county to address the infrastructure issues surrounding all of this. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know that we have anything to add to that. We're putting a, we're asking.
Name and address, Counselor.
We're just asking to be approved.
Name and address, Counselor.
How about if I sit down and shut up?
All right, even better. All right. All right. Commission? Oh, Vice Chair Huber.
I was just going to ask engineering if they could speak to any of the improvements that are coming or planned for the Hardin Valley area.
Yeah, I'd be glad to, Commissioner Huber.
We've got several things in the area, nothing immediately adjacent to this, but we do have a roundabout that's being constructed at Marietta Church, which is just to the east of this location, as well as a project that'll be built in 2 phases that widens Hardin Valley Road from Steel Road to Pellissippi from 3-lane to 5-lane. And then we also have a consultant looking at preliminary layouts of taking Hardin Valley all the way to Hickory Creek of a multi-lane facility. So the county is going to be investing, really several tens of millions of dollars in this corridor in the next, decade or so.
So, and thank you for that, Mr. Snowden. I think you had mentioned, Ms. Rose, the sewer out there, and I don't work for the sewer company or know everything about it, but I do seem to recall that West Knox Utility District purchased some land to actually build a completely new treatment plant to handle that side of Hardin Valley, if I'm not mistaken. So I think certainly from the sewer perspective and the water perspective that there are ample utilities in that area. I think Hardin Valley is a wonderful place to live, and I think a lot of people want to live out there. And I think 3.5 units an acre is not uncommon by any means. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the PR zone up to 3.5 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding development.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Huber, seconded by Commissioner Levinson to approve per staff recommendation. Commissioner Levinson, would you like to speak on this matter? No? Anybody else? Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
40, okay. Agenda item 40, subdivision, Montrachet Unit 3, applicant developer Mark C. Tucker, location north side of Montrachet Avenue, north of Tazewell Pike. Approximate acreage, 2.61 acres. Zoning is general residential. Existing land use, public parks. Proposed use, single-family detached households. Number of lots, 7. Subdivision, no variances required. Staff recommendation is to approve the concept plan subject to the 6 noted conditions. Is the applicant present?
Yes, sir. Robert Campbell, 7523 Taggart Lane.
And do we have opposition? Okay, how about Mr. Richard Clark? All right, would you like to speak, Mr. Clark? And then Stephen Truen after that? Okay.
I'm Richard Clark, 6447 Montrachet Avenue. I live on the street where this is proposed to go. My biggest concern, and my fellow resident is going to speak to the safety issues. So I want to speak to one of your recommendations that you have in this. I don't know if they can be pulled up in terms of the staff recommendations. Number 5 says that they should form there's a separate HOA. This is a piece of street that connects units 1 and sections 1 and 2, both of which are under the same HOA with almost 100 residents. Having a separate HOA with 7 homes in the midst, embedded in an environment, doesn't allow for, they get access to what we've been paying for in terms of a nice entrance into the community, which they will also have to use because that's the only entrance in to the community. We have lighting that we have that's uniform throughout the community that provides lighting at night, which there are no overhead lights. If this has a separate HOA, it has the opportunity to say we're not going to do that, or we're not going to pay towards the entrance of the house and the maintaining of the properties within. It also gives them the opportunity to build a different kind of house that is different from everybody else in phase 1 and phase 2, which I think will because we have restrictions related to types of building materials, driveway materials, things of that type. Giving the option to have a separate entity allows them to bypass that. I would just request that you amend the staff recommendations to say that they would join the existing HOA that is around that surrounds them, so that they are in compliance with everybody else in the neighborhood, so that we do not have separate entities and create animosity within the neighborhood because of shared property that they are not, if they spend their own, may or may not be willing to pay into, or may be willing to meet with the guidelines of surrounding houses that are in that community. These are very expensive houses, and they want to maintain them that way. And we would choose to, if this goes through, that they would be part of us, not separate from us, and creating something different within the midst of a subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Clark. Mr. Truon?
Good afternoon. My name's Steve Truon, 6541 Virginia Lee Lane, Knoxville 37918. Been a Montrachet resident for a little over 14 years, so I know the property well as I pass it every day to and from work. I'd respectfully ask the MPC to deny this request for development. There's many reasons to do this, and I trust that each of you have taken time to see the many comments against this development. But the most important one, I think, is safety. There have already been very many near misses on this stretch of road between Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Montrachet. I would point out the topography and road layout of this section of road is completely different than any other part of the subdivision. If you've been by and seen it, it's a steep and a curved hill between the two phases, and it creates a double blind situation going both ways. So the drivers cannot see oncoming traffic either way. There's also frequent speeding, unfortunately, as drivers accelerate to climb the steep grade going into Phase 2, which takes quite a bit of time to correct as you come over the hill. It would also increase, this development would increase the conflict points if there's 7 driveways down through that stretch. And every new driveway really is going to introduce a new place where vehicles enter or exit and increase the potential for accidents. Conflicts can occur not only between vehicles, but unfortunately with pedestrians. There's many pedestrians that jog and walk, and many that come from a 200 resident facility across the street that has no room and no roads to walk or jog on. There's a high volume of kids in the subdivision, including my own. I am a parent and a grandparent, and there's a lot of kids that ride bikes and walk in the subdivision. And this area that's trying to be developed is also an access point for Beverly Park. As a father, as a grandfather, I'd plead with you to turn down this ill-gotten and ill-advised and ill-placed development. Otherwise, I believe persons will be injured and killed if this goes forward. I've never spoken against anything like this. I'm not anti-development in any way. I'm a business owner. But I believe it would be very poor policy once each of you saw the sight lines. I would just like to ask that you deny this request and do the right thing for all of our community. Thank you so much for listening.
Mr. Campbell?
So in reference to the first speaker, the way I read that, we were going to be joining the existing homeowner association, so we're perfectly fine with joining the existing homeowner association. This development is being developed by the person who did Phase 1 and 2 of Montrachet. They actually live in the subdivision as well. So we want to make sure that we build houses that are in character with what he's already built. I think probably has built the majority of the homes in this development. We understand that we have people that possibly have speeding up and down through here. That's the reason that we're making sure that this is consistent with the rest of Montrachet. Again, every residence in Montrachet pulls out of their driveway onto the street. They don't back into the road. That's why we have side entry garages. That's why we have people that pull out from a front part. As far as topography, one of my first subdivision design projects was phase 2 of Montrachet. This topography, where the houses are sitting, is no different than the rest of the topography of the subdivision. After you get past where the house seats will be, this property does get steeper into the access to Beverly Park. And so that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Bear with us just a moment here.
So I'll jump in while they're talking. And this might be a question for engineering, but I see on here, approve the concept plan subject to 6 conditions. And number 4 reads, certifying site distance at the driveway location on all lots. If a lot does not have site distance on all locations of this frontage, then the driveway location where the site distance can be obtained must be provided on the plat. If a lot does not have site distance, the lot must be combined with adjacent lots or have shared access provided through an adjacent lot with adequate site distance. And this gets back to Mr. Truin, and you're talking about, coming in, people pulling in and out. If engineering could opine on that, I mean, is that something different than any other subdivision that Knox County would approve, or are you trying to make sure that it is safe?
Yeah, we're trying to make sure it is safe. There is a crest in the center of the project, so we want to make sure that the driveways on either side of that crest do have sight distance. And they may have to flip from the location shown on the development plan to ensure they do.
So when in the sight distance requirement is what on this road?
It would be 250 feet.
Okay, so you have to be able to see right 250 feet, left 250 feet. And it looks to me like the design, as the applicant said, is people will be pulling straight out. They won't be backing into the road with the side entries. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
I want to let our attorney, Tasha Blakeney, speak to item number 5 here. We've had some discussion here.
Yeah, in looking at item 5, I've got some concerns, and I think the staff and some of the other members share the concern about the requirement for either joining or establishing an HOA or other property owners associations. So it's my recommendation that as you consider this application, that you also consider an amendment to item 5 to the staff report and consider it to say, before certification of the final plat for the subdivision, establish a property owners, let me back up. Join the existing homeowners association, or alternatively, establish an appropriate property owners association or other legal entity responsible for maintaining common facilities, et cetera. That is my recommendation. Any questions? Okay.
Should we say that instead of joining the HOA, that they're going to encumber the property with the existing covenants and restrictions, which would include being part of the HOA?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I couldn't hear.
Well, I guess I just want to clarify. I mean, joining the HOA doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to subject the property to the existing covenants and restrictions. And I don't know if that's what we mean. I don't know that saying that they have to join the HOA is the same thing.
No, I don't disagree. And I'm not sure, to be candid with you, I'm not sure what the origin of that requirement was on this staff report, and maybe the staff would be better situated to describe that. But from a legal standpoint, my concern is I don't believe that we can force an organization that's already an existing legal entity to accept a new one. So that is the reason that I'm recommending that if this is something that this body one option is that you simply eliminate item 5. That is another option. But if this body and if the staff recommends that there be an HOA, and I do have questions, if there are not common areas, it may very well be that this is not a situation where this body wants to even have that item as a requirement. So in terms of your legal options, I view it to either be strike option 5 or give some options. But I don't think that we can establish a requirement here that this developer join an already existing HOA.
As I understand it, in practice, they're going to, but we may not have the authority to force them to.
The point of clarification on my end with it. Yeah, so I agree 100%. I mean, we can't force them to do that. We can't force them to take it. Yeah, that's kind of what we're saying, right? And but my question, because I do see this on a lot of different planned residential and things like that. When you get into stormwater facilities specifically, I think the county has moved away from burdening one homeowner with a pond on their lot and say, well, you have to have a homeowners association that maintains that. Not just one person. So I guess my question from an engineering standpoint, does this require stormwater? Is there a pond involved in it, or do we know that yet?
I don't think we've made it that far, Commissioner. I believe there is an existing pond that Montrachet drains to that these lots will potentially drain to. So I think we would ask Mr. Campbell to study that once he comes in with a design plan.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Anderson.
I guess I just want to think about this a little bit. I completely agree with our position on the homeowners association, but I wonder if we can require the property owner to basically put down or encumber that property with the existing covenants and restrictions that would address the design standard, the side entry garage, and the other design elements of that neighborhood. I don't know that we couldn't do that.
Well, I think that would have to be an issue for them to determine whenever they're determining whether they want to join the HOA or not. That would be something that they would have to address at that point. That would be part of the reason why I recommended that it be an alternative if the body wants to have or establish the requirement of a property owner association or an HOA.
I guess I'm thinking about it as two different things, though, right? And maybe but this is in the county, right? So we can we condition this with? I mean, for instance, and maybe we don't want to, but the owner can subject the property to covenants and restrictions without involving the HOA. And that sounds like it would appease some of the objections, not all of them. I think it would be best, personally, if they did just join the HOA and, subject the property to that. But I agree that I don't think that that's something we can stipulate.
I think that's right. I think, Commissioner Anderson, you're correct that if this body wanted to review those conditions and then add them, that would be another way to get to the same place without requiring the joining of an already existing HOA. So that would be another alternative for the body to consider. But again, that would be subject to what you all decide to do on the application.
I'll leave that for discussion.
And just, again, our intention is to be design standard-wise exactly like everything that's out there. It does no good for the consistency of these lots to have them out of character with the rest of the subdivision. I mean, you don't help your marketability when you stick out, especially in this. I mean, it is a tremendous subdivision, and that is our intention. I sort of understand the legal part of it, but we would prefer to walk up and say, here's our membership to the existing HOA, again, assuming they would take us, right, and be committed to being a full part of the development.
That would be the tiniest. But we can't order it.
No, but as I understand it, probably the best we can accomplish is to give them the choice
That's right.
of establishing their own or joining the other.
I think that's
And
right.
I think that sums it up.
I think that's right.
Okay. All right. Any other comments, or Chair will entertain a motion?
I'd like to make the motion to approve per staff recommendation, except modify condition number 5 to say, before certification of the final plat for the subdivision, join the existing homeowners association and subject the property to any covenants and restrictions in those homeowners association documents, the declaration, or establish their own property owners association with substantially similar covenants and restrictions. Yes.
Okay. Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by Commissioner Levinson, to approve per staff recommendation, subject to the 6 conditions, with condition number 5 being amended to reflect his motion. How about that? Is that good?
Works for me.
All right. Any other comments? Seeing no other, right, we do. Commissioner Gill.
Sorry, I know that one of the comments was related to the safety of that, and I think it is important to point out that as long as we have the sight distances in place, a lot of the reason for speeding on there is that is an entirely empty section of road in between houses, and it's natural for people to decide that that's where I'm going to speed because there's no houses and there's nothing to consider. I don't have anything to look out for, although that's not true, right? Because there's kids and walking bikes and paths of that nature, but if they have sight distance, the houses being there will naturally cause people to take more caution going around there. I think the speeding is a result of it being empty, not because of any other, not because of the grade. So I think that by putting these houses there, I think we could actually help the speed in that area as long as that it meets the safety regulations that are stipulated by condition 4.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights, and we have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 42, Eastwood Estates, applicant developer Eastwood LLC, location north side of Mountie Lane, west of Ranger Lane, zoning low-density residential, existing land use, agricultural, forestry, vacant land, proposed use, detached residential subdivision, number of lots 35. Staff recommendation. This is going to require 5 motions. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 motions. First one, as it relates to variance 1, approve the variance to reduce the broken back curve tangent from 150 feet to 88 feet, Road A, Station 6 plus 18. A, the property has steep topography in this location. B, the lots have been clustered in the buildable areas to minimize disturbance in the hillside protection area. C, this is a road with low traffic volumes and the variation is not great enough to cause detriment to public safety, health, or welfare, nor would it be injurious to other properties in the neighborhood. Motion 2, variance 2, approve the variance to reduce the broken back curve tangent from 150 feet to 63 feet, Road B, Station 3 plus 80. A, the property has steep topography in this location. Lots have been clustered in the buildable areas, minimize disturbance to the hillside protection area. And C, this is a road with low traffic volumes. The variation is not great enough to cause detriment to public safety, health, or welfare, nor would it be injurious to other properties in the neighborhood. Motion 3, variance 3, approve variance to reduce vertical curve length on Road A from K 25 to K16 at Station 8 plus 51.91 based on the following evidence of hardship. A, due to the existing steeper topography along the section of Road A, a reduction of vertical curve length is needed. B, the existing slope is steep and the variance allows for a smoother approach. C, the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to public safety, health, or welfare because a shortened vertical curve meets the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials AASHTO standards. Knox County EPW recommends approval of this variance based on justifications provided by the applicant. Motion 4, variance 4, approve the variance to reduce vertical curve length on Road B from K25 to K18 at Station 3 plus 15.89 based on the following evidence of hardship. A, steep topography throughout the property requires reducing vertical curve length to keep site grading balance. B, the location and grade of the existing access easement presents a unique challenge. C, the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to public safety, health, or welfare because the shortened vertical curve meets AASHTO standards. Knox County PW recommends approval of this variance based on justifications provided by the applicant. Motion 5, concept, approve the concept plan subject to 9 conditions. The applicant present.
Yes.
Do we have any opposition? We do have opposition. Would you like to comment or defer your comments to opposition? Defer? Okay. All right. We have, we're on Mr. Thomas Smith? Yeah. Okay.
Name is Thomas Smith, 7431 Mountie Lane. Wrote a couple bullet points here. I'm not really against the development in general. Just have some considerations I want the community to understand. Next to my house and my neighbor's house, there's a pretty large culvert that is where the natural, rainfall water does run off. Given the steep topography that you mentioned, several of the houses on that side of the road already have drainage issues. I won't call it flooding issues, but I'm gonna call it drainage issues. Some go into their driveway or their garage, some it's their backyard. Obviously, a lot of younger families have been there. We moved in 2012, I think it was. So a lot of us are newer, younger families. Obviously, with the runoff issue, it causes a problem for kids to play in the backyard. I know one of the concept plans was to put a retaining pond in the back. Obviously, the relief for that is going to put it in the backyard of what I already mentioned, my backyard, into that culvert. So one of the things, obviously, I think there should be probably an underground pipe that takes that runoff water instead of putting it in my backyard straight to the culvert. I think one of the other families in the neighborhood was mentioning, when you have a large retaining pond, whether it's full or empty, what about a fence for the young kids? This development is going to sit in our backyard. So, if you go through the woods a short distance, you could be subject to having a kid fall in the pond. Water treatment type situation, mosquitoes, bugs in general, we wouldn't want any kind of that. I also wonder about the school impact. My kids went to Sunnyview, Chihowie, and then obviously to Carter High School. Sunnyview is kind of a small school anyway. You add 30 homes, you talk about maybe 100 kids if each have 2 to 3 kids. So I wonder what that would impact, not necessarily to you guys, but I'm just saying the consideration in general. Obviously, the bus stop is another contentious thing. Our bus stop is all the way down Ruggles Ferry, and as you can see, there's already a maze of roads that it takes to get from basically where I live to the bus stop. You put an even further development back, how are those kids going to get to school? So if your parents can't take you, obviously, you got to get on the bus. And then road wear and tear. I got some videos and stuff. I don't know if engineering wants to see them. Of number one, my flooding. It is a massive amount of water that rushes through there, that culvert. But obviously the wear and tear, because of the flooding or drainage issues, there's lots of potholes. I know the only way that they can get dump trucks, et cetera, up to that easement of what is somebody's driveway currently is going to be to use big heavy machinery onto that road, which is going to cause worse and worse problems. Once again, y'all are not the people that are going to come fill the potholes or pave our roads, but all of these things are reasons why I think there needs to be some more, restrictions or things in place before we just move forward with it in general. I'm not really against the development. I think it's great to bring families to community. Straw Plains is a wonderful area. I love it. That's why I kind of like it quiet, but it's not about that. I think there just needs to be some restrictions or things that are in place so I don't have a flooding issue in my backyard any worse than I already do.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to comment?
Good afternoon, David Campbell, Ideal Engineering Solutions, 201 Center Park Drive, Suite 1120, Knoxville 37922.
Good afternoon, Lee Ellis, 4745 Solomon Drive, Strawberry Plains, Tennessee, 37871.
Be happy to talk about the slope and hillside. I was amazed to see that most of the site is in the slope and hillside area, including the areas that we wish to fill and develop as a subdivision. Looking at this, visiting the site, spending time on it, I realized that it's been logged over the last 100 years, probably several times. And the channel, the draw that we're proposing to fill and improve is brutally eroded. In the meeting I had last night with the neighborhood, they talked on and on about the volumes of sediment that come out of these woods. And looking at it, I can see that the draw, the channel through the property is heavily eroded. And we're looking at this as an opportunity, if not to avoid disturbing the stable hillsides, but instead to reclaim the heavily eroded draw by turning it into houses and yards. So I look at this and I think it is actually going to be an improvement on the volumes of sediment that leave the site to develop this project. Mr. Smith has suffered from a deluge of water that comes down this draw and flows down between his yard and a neighbor's yard. And in talking to him, we said, yes, the smart thing to do is enclose it in a pipe and carry it down to the existing drainage network, which does exist in Eastwood Estates Unit 1. So I think that we've addressed most of their concerns. As far as the school, maybe this will be an opportunity with more children using it to bring a school bus stop closer to these communities that are underserved. I believe we've addressed the concerns, and we're happy to be good neighbors. I'll let Mr. Ellis talk about his objectives for this development.
Oh, he covered quite a bit of it. Ultimately, I'm a builder. I like to build homes. That's what I do for a living. I teach my children, and I'm a firm believer that we want to go in and leave places better than we found them. And so I think we have an opportunity to have a positive impact on this property. And I certainly like to sleep well at night. So I always try to do what's right in every circumstance. As far as the retention pond goes, we'll absolutely put a fence around it. My two children are here with me. We definitely want to keep that at the forefront, the safety of the kids in the neighborhood. And we just want to be great neighbors, be transparent, and produce a great product for many people to enjoy.
Thank you. Commission? Commissioner Midas.
I mean, this isn't a rezoning, so I guess I can't do anything about the hillside, but it does give me some pause how steep that slope is and all the development that's happening on that slope. I don't, and maybe you can explain how you stabilize a hillside with removing all those trees that you're probably going to need to remove in order to develop that subdivision?
The roads in the subdivision are going to follow the existing eroded paths, and there are trees in them, and we'll be removing trees. But what we're going to do instead is take the ground that's at 15% or greater and make it 3% and plant new trees on them. So I look at it from my experience being on these sites is that it's going to continue to erode and continue to get, the slopes will continue to become steeper and more jagged. We have the opportunity to grade this out and improve that. And our sediment, our detention basin and water treatment, quality treatment area are going to have a sediment forebay that is going to capture any sediment that tries to leave the site and end up down in Eastwood Estates Unit 1.
Well, you seem actually very excited about it and feel very positive that this is going to be a benefit to the hillside, and I really hope it is.
I agree, and yes, I respect the hillsides because they're what makes this area so desirable.
Vice Chair Huber.
Yeah, I actually completely follow what you're describing there. I've seen properties over the years, if they've been logged and stripped of all the all the vegetation that the water just really starts flowing and it ruts it out. I think that's probably what Mr. Smith is experiencing right now. I think it's great. Well, one, I think it's going to slow it down and control it. When you build your pond, I think it'll slow it down. Plus, it'll add the water quality component, as you'd mentioned. Two, I'm really glad to hear that you guys are open to connecting the pipe so it'll just completely bypass their property in between. So I think it's going to actually improve the situation for the people that back up to it tremendously. So I applaud you on that. And just as a side note, it's actually this. You were talking about the rezoning side. This is actually in the urban growth boundary. So I mean, it could be a whole lot higher density technically if they wanted to make that application. But I think this is perfectly in keeping with the neighborhood. I think it'll help control the runoff and be a good addition. So with that, I will make a motion to approve the variance to reduce the broken back curve tangent from 150 to 88 on Road A, Station 6 plus 18 because of A, B, and C that Chair.
Vice Chair Huber, I'm going to spare you some angst here, some pain. If you'll just say, motion one related to variance one per staff recommendation, because I've already read it out.
All right, I'm in on that. Make the motion on variance one motion to approve on variance one per staff recommendation.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Huber, seconded by Commissioner Anderson to approve variance one per staff recommendation. Seeing no other lights, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve variance number two per staff recommendation.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Huber to approve variance two per staff recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve variance number three per staff recommendation.
We have a motion to approve variance three by Vice Chair Huber, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve variance number four per staff recommendation.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Huber to approve motion four, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the concept plan subject to 9 conditions.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Huber to approve concept plan subject to 9 conditions, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. On to item 43. 7816 Ball Camp Pike. Applicant developer is Chris Swindle. Location, south side of Ball Camp Pike, southwest of Bakertown Road, 8.39 acres. Zoning is planned residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre. Existing land use, agricultural, forestry, vacant land. Proposed use, attached residential subdivision, 26 lots. This will require 4 motions. Make sure I got that right. Yep, 4 motions. Motion number 1 is variance. Approve the variance to reduce the minimum intersection approach vertical curve K value from 25 to 20 on Road A at Ball Camp Pike based on the following evidence of hardship. A, the site's topography is challenging, rising quickly within the first 150 feet of lot depth. The narrowness of the lot does not allow for introducing horizontal curves to reduce road grades and land disturbance. B, the variance's location is at a stop condition, which results in reduced travel speeds within the area of this request. C, approval of variance is not anticipated to be detrimental to public safety, health, or welfare because the request meets AASHTO design standards. The Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works recommends approval of this variance based on justification provided by the applicant. Motion 2, alternative design standards. Approve the alternative design standards based on the justification provided by the applicant and recommendations of the Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works. Motion 3, approve the concept plan subject to 7 conditions. Motion 4, approve the development plan for up to 26 attached dwelling units on individual lots and reduction at the peripheral setback from 35 feet to 25 feet along the east and west boundaries as shown on the development plan, subject to the 3 noted conditions. Is the applicant present? Yes. All right, do we have opposition? Seeing no opposition, would the applicant like to speak? All right, commission. Let's see. Commissioner Anderson.
I'd like to make a motion to approve variance 1 pursuant to staff recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by Vice Chair Huber, to approve motion 1 related to the variance per staff recommendation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the alternative design standards based upon a justification provided by the applicant and recommendations of the Knox County Engineering and Public Works.
We have a motion by Commissioner Anderson to approve motion 2, which is the alternative design standards per staff recommendation. That was seconded by Vice Chair Huber. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the concept plan subject to the 7 stated conditions.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Anderson to approve the concept plan subject to the 7 noted conditions, and that was seconded by Commissioner Levinson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the development plan for up to 26 attached dwelling units on individual lots and reduction of the peripheral setback from 35 feet to 25 feet along the east and west boundaries as shown on the development plan, subject to the 3 stated conditions.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the development plan per staff recommendation by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by Commissioner Levinson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 45, Meredith Park, applicant developer Chad Roberts, location east side of Bishop Road, southeast of Tate Trotter Road, 5.56 acres. Current zoning is planned residential up to 4.5 dwelling units per acre. Existing land use, agricultural, forestry, vacant land. Proposed use, attached and detached residential subdivision. Number of lots, 25. This will require 6 motions. Motion 1, as it relates to variance 1, approve the variance to reduce the intersection spacing between the side entrance and Tate Trotter Road from 300 feet to 190 feet. A, due to the existing topography and to provide adequate sight distance, the intersection of Road A at Bishop Road needs to be located at the proposed spacing of 190 feet south of Tate Trotter Road. B, these conditions are a result of the configuration of Bishop Road and the existing topography, are not applicable to other property and not created by any person having an interest in the property. C, the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to public safety, health, or welfare because the placement of the proposed road maximized sight distance. Knox County EPW recommends approval of this variance based on the justifications provided by the applicant. Motion 2, as it relates to variance 2. Approve the variance to reduce the vertical curve length on Road A from K25 to K15 based on the following evidence of hardship. A, due to the existing steeper topography along Road A coming from the intersection with Bishop Road, a reduction of the vertical curve length is needed to keep site grading balanced. B, the conditions are due to the steeper topography in this portion of the property as Road A has been strategically located to optimize the site distance. C, the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to public safety, health, or welfare because the shortened vertical curve meets AASHTO standards. Knox County EPW recommends approval of this variance based on the justifications provided by the applicant. Motion 3. If anybody needs a break, it might be a good time to do it. We'll wait on you. Motion 3, variance 3, approve the variance to allow Road A to Station 14 plus 00 to serve lots 5 and 6 without a cul-de-sac based on the following evidence of hardships. A, due to the shape of the property, there is not sufficient room for a cul-de-sac. The 108 feet length of dead end serving lots 5 and 6 provides adequate access to the 22-foot wide roadway and provides an alternate turnaround for emergency vehicles other than the Road B loop. B, the lot size, shape, and environmental constraints are unique to the property and are not applicable to other properties. C, allowing this variance is not dangerous to public safety or welfare because an emergency vehicle turnaround is provided. Knox County EPW recommends approval of this variance based on the justifications provided by the applicant. Motion 4, alternative design. Approve the alternative design standards based on the justifications provided by the applicant and the recommendations of the Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works. Motion 5, approve the concept plan subject to the 9 noted conditions. Motion 6, approve the development plan for up to 25 detached and attached dwellings on individual lots and a reduction of the peripheral setback to 25 feet subject to the 4 noted conditions. Is the applicant present?
Yes, sir. Robert Campbell, 7523 Taggart Lane. I will quickly say that this development was approved for concept plan, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago. And so that we've, basically what you have before you was approved by this body with, I believe, almost all the same conditions on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any opposition? Seeing. Commissioner? Commission comment.
I've got a question. I guess I was reading through some of the public comments, and I get the impression they were almost thinking that it's coming through the subdivision on some of those, because they were asking for stop signs, like a 3-way stop sign. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I didn't understand some of that. I mean, again, our entrance is on our side of the road is a fairly good distance away, and the only place you could conceivably have a stop sign if we move the entrance up to Tate Trotter, I believe, and I just don't, that didn't seem, that's the low side of the property where we have a blue line stream, and we couldn't have put the entrance there anyway. And so I didn't understand where that may have been occurring.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify. They were talking about a lot of things, so thank you.
Chair will entertain a number of motions.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance to reduce the intersection spacing between the side entrance and Tate Trotter Road from 300 to 190 feet.
We have a motion by Commissioner Levinson to approve variance 1 per staff recommendation, seconded by Vice Chair Huber. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance to reduce the vertical curve length on Road A from K equals 25 to K equals 15 based on the following evidence of hardship.
Can I get a second? Second. All right. Commissioner Levinson has made a motion to approve variance 2 per staff recommendation, and that was seconded by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance to allow Road A at STA 14+00 to serve lots 5 and 6 without a cul-de-sac based on the following evidence of hardship.
We have a motion by Commissioner Levinson to approve variance number 3, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. That was per staff recommendation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the alternate design standards based on justification provided by the applicant and the recommendation of Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works.
We have a motion by Commissioner Levinson, seconded by Commissioner Anderson to approve the alternative design standards per staff recommendation. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the concept plan subject to 9 conditions.
We have a motion by Commissioner Levinson, seconded by Commissioner Anderson to approve the concept plan subject to the 9 noted conditions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve the development plan for up to 25 detached and attached dwellings on individual lots and a reduction of the peripheral setback to 25 feet subject to 4 conditions.
We have a motion by Commissioner Levinson, seconded by Commissioner Anderson to approve the development plan per staff recommendation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Agenda item 49, applicant Javante Cotner, location south side of Hardin Valley Road, west of Berrywood Drive, 2.02 acres. Zoning is planned residential up to 1 dwelling unit per acre. Existing land use, agricultural, forestry, vacant land. Proposed use, 2 single-family lots. Staff recommendation, approve the development plan for 2 single-family lots subject to 7 noted conditions. Is the applicant present?
I'm not the applicant, but I'm his representative,
Oh.
J.B. Turnmeyer, 2111 Woodson Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee.
All right, any opposition? Okay, commission?
I'll make a motion to approve the development plan for 2 single-family lots, subject to 7 conditions, as per read. Do I need to read them?
No.
Okay.
You don't need to read. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Midas, seconded by Commissioner Levinson, to approve the development plan for the 2 single-family lots, subject to those 7 noted conditions. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 54, applicant Brad Pruitt, location north side of Asheville Highway, across from its intersection with East Governor John Sevier Highway, north side of the river Turn Road and Riverview Crossing Drive intersection, 126.83 acres. Zoning is planned commercial and general business. Existing land use, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Proposed use, master plan. Staff recommendation is to approve the master plan to establish the general site plan, permitted uses, and intensity of uses as presented, subject to the 4 noted conditions. Is the applicant present?
Present.
All right, do we have any opposition? All right, would the applicant like to speak?
Not at this time, sir.
I do have one question for you, if you don't mind coming to the podium and stating your name and address.
Bradley Pruitt, 8862 Lions View Crossing, Suite 100.
All right. It was, I guess, made aware that there were some covenants on this particular property as it relates to the development, and just how do you, if you'll respond to us, how do you anticipate dealing with those covenants?
Brian, you want to jump on that one?
Brian Ewers, 111 East Jackson Avenue, Suite 101. Well, I guess the question I have is, do those covenants, are they still applicable? Are they still connected to the property? We just got an
It is our
email
opinion
last
that
night.
they are.
They are. Then we need to take care of those.
So one thing that I think as we have convened and discussed, legal counsel and our executive director here, it might be more fitting. We can still discuss this plan and give you some feedback here, but postpone it and let you deal with the covenants and then come back. Is that how you see it, or can we approve it?
That's been the debate. So the covenants were approved as conditions of the rezoning from 1979. So they're part of the rezoning. So I think that's the challenge. So you do have to have those removed by the legislative body.
So we would come in front of you to remove them?
Yes. So it would be a rezoning, but it would be just to remove those conditions of that rezoning from 1979. And then we would move it through the process.
Okay. Would it be possible to get a conditional approval today with that condition?
We've discussed that, and I'm not sure we have a clear answer here.
Yeah, and I still don't have a clear answer. I mean, I think you have to have
I don't think it'll hold you up, because you gotta come before us to get it removed, and I guess at that time, we could put it on later in the agenda and approve it. So I don't think it's gonna cost anybody any more time.
Well, I guess it would be a level of comfort for the owner that is getting ready to purchase the property to know that it's okay.
I think we can give you some feedback today
Yeah, because
based on.
we're lined up. We'll probably come in front of you every month for the next, through September on this project.
Yeah.
So,
I would recommend to this body, and we can deal with it any way that we all agree to deal with it, but it seems most appropriate that let's discuss it, give you some feedback, about the plan and then postpone it until these covenants are removed.
Okay.
So with that in mind, would you all like to speak to the master plan, or?
I guess more just answer questions that you have on it.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Adams.
I've got one comment and one question. And the comment is about the very large parking area. And in our agenda review, it was discussed that that is intended to be shared with the property or the event space that is on the other side of the road.
River Breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
just want to make sure on the record, like, that is what is going to happen there.
It is. There is an agreement that it will be entered in between the owner and River Breeze.
So it's a shared parking agreement?
Shared parking, and then it would be dual use, for the tournaments and things that are gonna happen with the ball fields and I think just general public use too, because we're intending to put in river access, boat launches for, kayaks and canoes, and then also creating a green space along the river.
That was my second question, was about the kayak access. So thank you for anticipating that and answering it.
Yes.
Vice Chair Huber.
Yeah, and throwing it out there too, with the sheer size of the parking lot, a big part of what we had discussed was some landscaping requirements possibly. I don't think anybody wants just the big sea of asphalt out there. So, even considering maybe some impervious area, if you could work that in, but more so mainly just about breaking up the monotony of a parking lot that size. Well, I do have a question about it. I mean, so are they going to be busing people across the street?
No, there is actual access underneath the highway, Asheville Highway, that there is a TVA boat launch right underneath Asheville Highway, but there is pedestrian access. So they'll park and then walk under the bridge to River Breeze.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, just keep them off the road.
We're probably going to have, put in some ramps and accessibility to make that happen, but that's our plan. And then as far as the parking lot is concerned, it's already rough graded that we're going to have to terrace it anyway, so it will be broken up with banks and green space in between, but also we're planning on parking within, or landscaping within the parking lot.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's what everybody's looking for, just to, break it up somewhat. Yeah. I guess, and I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, there was one comment made about some of the history behind the property and possibly an old, use for dump site or something like that. I'm assuming you guys will end up with a phase 1 or a phase 2 study on it at some point to verify or debunk that.
Yeah, so we were made aware of that a little over a year ago. In fact, there was a phase 1 and phase 2 done in 1996 by Knox County. We are planning on obviously redoing those, updating them. But yeah, we were made aware of those. And Mike, I believe we provided those to staff at some point in time. If not, we can reprovide them.
Yeah, I don't remember getting them to me personally, maybe engineering got them at some point, but I don't.
It could have been them.
Yeah. And it's just more of a comment, I mean, I'm sure in your due diligence, I felt confident you guys would be updating those or doing those anyway.
Correct.
But overall, I tell you, I love the concept. I mean, I like the RV park and the addition of the ball fields and the things that you guys are doing out there. I think it'd be a real benefit for the community.
Commissioner Higgins.
Question for staff. Can you give us the conditions that are in play, those are based on tenants that would be in this space. Is that correct? Am I remembering that correct from Tuesday?
Mike, do you want to speak to that?
So they're very specific conditions that almost lock this into a mall. It talks about a regional shopping center with one full-line department store, and then there's talking about like a secondary type of department store, and then how much leasable area there is. Then there's the other conditions related to like the parking lot design and access points to Asheville Highway and those types of things, but the use part is really a tough one to overcome. And the other aspects of those conditions could make it, challenging to do the projects they want to do too. But
It sounds like y'all have discussed pretty much every scenario, but my question is, there's noted future out parcel. Could we not approve under an assumption that those could be fulfilling that, even though, even if they went and
Well, one of the requirements was a minimum of 300,000 square feet of retail, so I don't think we can put it
yeah.
on an outlot.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
So then my last question is, what does the process look like for them to get that removed? How long are they going to need to postpone for and to go through that process?
It looks like the earliest that we could get them on for a rezoning would be the May agenda. And so that would be to remove those previous conditions of approval. They don't have to rezone, they just have to take off those conditions.
And we could have the approval of the master plan on that same agenda, right?
That's not typically how we handle these, but I think it's something that we could consider under these circumstances, potentially. The removal of the conditions do, yes. As, and Dallas just asked if that had to go to county commission.
All right.
So, sorry, if we're able to keep this on the May agenda, would we not, we would still be then approving conditionally this because it would be under the assumption that county would approve it?
Yeah, I think this just came up over the last 24 to 48 hours or came to my attention. So I would like to consult probably with the Knox County Law Department, as well just have a little bit more discussion to figure out how we can handle this case before we make a firm commitment right now of, if we can run the applications concurrently, what that looks like. I get what you're asking is why not just do it now?
Or even my thought is, because it sounds like they do have a timeline that could be negatively impacted, maybe if, to give time to have those conversations, could we postpone 30 days? And if it seems like we could conditionally approve this, they're at least getting this conditionally approved next month and then getting those original conditions removed the month after that. Do you think, and it may come, your conversation may lead to, no, we need to push this back until then, but at least it gives them the opportunity.
I think it might be helpful to understand the full process to get them to where they want to be with building permits. And I don't know, I know engineering and Mr. Reynolds have had those conversations with them. So it's a multi-step process. So it's not just this development plan. My understanding is there are other steps in this process.
Yeah, and speaking of that, if I can chime in one thing too, Commissioner Higgins, that might help you. One of the things like Director Brooks just mentioned is that we just saw the full extent within the last couple of days. Looking at what Mr. Reynolds was able to pull, in addition to these protective covenants that are very specific and have to do with contemplating a very large retail development, at the end of the restricted protective covenants, and they weren't even called just conditions, they were called protective covenants. And it says the protective covenants shall be placed of record at the Knox County Courthouse and with the Metropolitan Planning Commission upon approval of development plans by MPC and prior to issuance of any building permits for the site. So you can see why we're proceeding with a lot of caution here. Normally, I think that the staff and this body, we try to get to yes as often as we can and to give the feedback. This is being handled in a little bit of a different order than typical. And again, that was a function of the staff wanting to be accommodating to the owner and the developer here. But when we see something like that with that particular language, we all want to make sure we do it right and not proceed in a way that ends up with our goal being to help you expedite, but ultimately to do it wrong and set you back even further than if we had just simply done it right in the first place.
Since we're not planning a how many square feet did you say the shopping center was?
300,000.
Yeah, we're not planning that, then would any of this, I mean, would it be null and void? Because it's not what we're submitting in?
It would bind you to it.
The zoning is bound up in those requirements.
All right.
In fact, protective covenants.
Gotcha. Well, any, any feedback?
Well,
Have you considered doing a 300,000 square foot shopping center?
that would be the quickest way, maybe.
We got the parking for it.
You would also have to have a minimum gross leasable area in phase 1 of the development of 300,000
Yeah.
square feet.
wow.
And
Yeah, no,
a
we don't.
full-line department store with operations in at least 4 other metropolitan areas. Yeah, it's,
Seems worth waiting.
I would say.
Yeah.
Well, so should we make a motion to
I think we need a-
postpone 60 days? 60, okay.
Is there, real quick before we do that, I mean, is there any other feedback that we want to give them? I know you're looking for something in the owner and the developers. Does anybody have any
I think
thoughts
the
on?
parking lot is, just making sure that it's adequately landscaped seems like the consensus here.
Just to be consistent, I will bring up that there are heat resistant sort of paint things that you can do. That's not a great articulation of it, but I brought it up with an earlier case. So in addition to landscaping, there are some things that you can actually apply to the surface that makes it more bearable for the heat, more reflective.
Less of a heat island?
Yeah.
I think if possible, during the postponement, if you could add more detail that would show landscaping, I think that could be helpful with the discussion when it comes back to us as well. But
Yeah, and I think if you just, if you want, I'm sorry, this is Mike Reynolds over here. If you wanted to, like Commissioner Higgins mentioned, just if you put something on the plan, that'd be great, but if you just put a standard in, like, we anticipate putting X amount of trees per linear foot of edging or whatever, islands, that kind of thing, would just be helpful moving
Proposed
forward.
landscaping design, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Vice Chair Huber, do you have a comment?
I guess, no. I mean, especially if Commissioner Biggs will.
Oh, just one quick comment on the conservation area. I understand there's some varying topography around the perimeter of the site there, so maybe indicating where the boat launch might be planned. I don't know if you have plans for a greenway or anything like that, but showing how that might be incorporated into the site would be helpful.
Yeah, we're planning a greenway along the riverside,
Okay.
a walkway. And, we've had conversations with Legacy Parks and things like that and seeing how we could possibly tie in with them but there is another boat launch being planned on the other side of we got the TVA already, but we're planning another one over by the end of the edge of the RV park.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks.
Commissioner Higgins?
With that, I'll make a motion to postpone for 60 days.
We have a motion by Commissioner Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Anderson to postpone for 60 days. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Is that it? We are adjourned.